Sean, let's talk a little bit about your airplane. Is this a one-of-a-kind airplane? Are there any others like this one?
There certainly are. This is really, we've done many, many modifications to this design, but the Eagles flew this style of airplane for how many years? And it's an Eagle 1 fuselage, and Delmar Benjamin, who built the GB, designed the cow. Curtis Pitts gave me a stronger wing. This is an incredibly strong wing because Curtis was worried about me. He's a neat man. And so he wanted me to have a little bit tougher wing to be able to, because of all the pressures I put the airplane through. We have hundreds of horsepower underneath the hood.
How many horsepower?
We're doing 360, 370 horsepower. We overhaul the engine every year. The tail's a little bit different, and I have about 197 hours on this particular airplane. We just developed it through the last year and a half. And towards the end of the season, we'll have about 500 total hours. Then we'll have to overhaul her again. We'll take the skin off, the covering off. We'll take the engine apart to make sure it's safe for the following year.
At 500 hours, you said?
Oh, absolutely. Every year. If it's 450, but we need to overhaul every year.
So you're saying that it's a Kristen Eagle fuselage,
That's
basically?
correct.
Pitts wings?
Curtis designed the wings.
Okay.
Curtis's new design wings, a Delmar Benjamin cowling, and a Sean D. Tucker tail, but I stole the idea from the tail from Leo Loudenslager, who, you got to steal ideas from world champions because they work.
Well, here in Indiana, we call that Heinz 57.
That's all right. Well, she's a Heinz 57, and I love flying her. She's the best biplane I've ever owned, and I think it's the best biplane in the world right now. It's just very nimble, very agile. It's a great piece of equipment.
Sean, I've watched air shows for years myself, and I thought I'd seen all the maneuvers until I watched you fly. And you do some things in this airplane that are just awesome. And one in particular is when you do a slow flyby, almost straight up. How slow are you? You're just hanging on the prop.
Well, you're actually using the propeller to develop lift along the side of the fuselage. And if I have a 10-mile-an-hour wind and cool temperatures, I'm stopped. So I'd probably go on 10, 15, maybe 20 miles an hour. And I remember that the nose attitude is way up there. So I'm flying this ball of air and flying the side of the fuselage and part of the wing, and it's all feel. And if you lose it, it falls out. It's really a lot of fun to fly. I developed that a few years ago, and it's just to mesmerize the crowd because it's an airplane. Airplanes are not supposed to do that, and it's really neat to show the crowd that it can be kind of a helicopter and or a Harrier. We actually call it a Harrier Pass.
The Harrier Pass. You have another one you call the, it's after your name.
I got the Tucker Upper, the Son of Edwin, the Eric Tucker, the Tara Tucker. When you invent them, you can call them whatever you want.
Well, the one where you go across and it looks like you just cartwheel.
Well, that's called the centrifuge, and that's a tumbling end over end, sometimes 8, sometimes 10, sometimes 12. I've had as many as 14 end over end tumbles, and again, it all depends on how I pick the nose up, how I initiate it, if I'm running at 220 or 240 miles an hour before I hit it. But the thing is, you can't just say, okay, I want to do 10. You got to do what's right.
I know if I do a couple G's, I see spots, and when I see you do that, we just can't believe it. So, Sean, I've been watching people. They come up and they point to this device that looks like an antenna on your airplane. What is this?
Well, this is how I talk to Martians.
That's how you talk to Martians.
That's
okay.
right.
Okay. Well,
this is why I need this.
Well, I'm
not really.
I'm glad you've got a line to them.
I have a line to God, but not to any Martians. What this is all about is when you pull the airplane vertical and you start flying backwards, which I love to do because technically it's very difficult to get a good line going backwards. And when you do that, you got to be perfectly, absolutely vertical. So I put this, it's called really a sighting device, and I put that on the horizon and I look out there, and when this is level with the horizon, I'm perfectly vertical. And so when I'm flying backwards, tail first, I'm keeping that airplane on the exact vertical plane so I can fly sometimes 600 feet tail first backwards while I'm rolling.
Sean, when you go out and you really tumble, is there any time just briefly that you lose your orientation, or does it come back because you're in top shape?
Well, if you do lose your orientation and you don't stop, you're going to die. So I always know where I am at all times because I don't want to die. I mean, this is that serious business, is that you can't lose your orientation. If you do, come back and land, because you better not be flying that airplane.
Sean, when you do that knife edge pass right on the deck and you roll over, how many feet off the ground are you?
We're doing about 220 miles an hour, and my wingtip is about 8 feet or 10 feet off the ground, right around there. And I'm flying actually the side of the fuselage. And what I do is I come in right knife edge and I cut one ribbon, and roll to left knife edge and cut the second ribbon. So I'm flying this side of the fuselage then, and then I roll inverted and cut the third ribbon.
One last question. How did you get interested in aerobatics?
In 1973, I received my private pilot's license. Had 55 hours or so, and I was scared to death of stalling the airplane. Now remember, a stall is what you do to land. You got to get rid of your lift so the wheels can touch down, and I was afraid to stall an airplane. So I took an aerobatic course from Amelia Reed in San Jose, and the first time I rolled upside down, I fell in love with the art of aerobatic flying, and I've been dedicated to that art for all these years. And it's been very fortunate for me that I've received sponsorship through 1-800-COLLECT, through friends and people who have helped me out in my career, because this is the greatest life I could ever achieve, to be flying on this level and living this life.
Well, Sean, again, thank you for your time. I know you're very busy, and we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. We enjoy your flying, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you fly tomorrow.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alley-oop. Speed for altitude. There it goes. On top. Oh, he just disappears in black smoke. Comes out of that maneuver. Unbelievable. That's awesome.